Fallout Equestria the Chrysalis, Chapter 18, Part 2. Starlight was in heaven. She trotted along with energetic bouncing steps, pausing only to lift her leg and fiddle with her pip-buck. Her gaze danced this way and that, as if the world were a completely new and fascinating thing. But I knew what she was really looking at was something only she could see. Every now and then, if I was looking closely enough, I could catch a tiny glimpse of light dancing about her eyes, so subtle that you'd never notice it if you didn't know what to look for. But mostly, I watched her smile. Her enthusiastic, unbridled joy was contagious, as if my own troubles were diminished by it. Of course, Starlight being Starlight, we headed to Arclight's place. She had no problem finding him inside the cluttered building.
"I can see his mark, right there,"
she had said, pointing at a wall and guiding us around until we found him, completely focused on his work. We greeted him, and moments later, we were on our way to his weapon range. Of all the features the pip-buck had that only functioned when worn, Starlight was most interested in trying out its targeting spell. I had to admit, it was pretty effective. After a few warm-up tests to get familiar with its functionality, Starlight started to have fun with it, giggling as she slew cans, bottles, and wooden targets with a recharger. We ended up with some trick shots, and she had me grab 3 bottles and throw them all together. Without her pip-buck's magic, she could reliably get one before they landed, and occasionally a second. After a few throws, it was time to give the spell a try.
"Throw him,"
she said, her eyes looking eagerly into the air, her pistol floating in her magic just below her gaze. I reared back, 3 bottles clutched into my forehooves, and hurtled them into the air. The pistol smoothly snapped up, and with 3 sharp pops, the broken and half-melted remains of the 3 bottles peppered the ground of the range. She turned back to me with an almost manic grin.
"This is amazing!"
I was smiling too.
"Again? Just a sec,"
she said, eyes darting off to some unseen indicator. A moment later, she nodded.
"Okay, do it!"
3 more times I threw. 3 more times, she hit every bottle before they even hit the ground. Even the time she missed a shot, the follow-up came so smoothly that it could have been mistaken for being planned. There was no hesitation, just an unbroken cadence of shots. We eventually stopped when it was getting dark out, once Arclight pointed out that ponies would be going to bed soon. Starlight was still bouncing as we made our way back to Emerald's place, and immediately ran up to give the old mare another hug.
"I take everything's working well,"
Emerald said with a chuckle.
"It's perfect,"
Starlight said, releasing her again.
"And now I'm feeling like celebrating. Plus I'm hungry. You got any fancy food that we can buy?"
Emerald chuckled.
"If it were a few hours earlier, I'd point you to Pumpkin's place. She and her husband make some amazing food. The fanciest I can offer is some old pre-made dinners. I got a couple of stir-fried veggies and one with cheesy pasta. I also have drinks and some packages of cookies or snack cakes."
Starlight's ears perked up.
"We'll take each one of the dinners and all the snack cakes." "I've got 5 boxes of snack cakes. Are you all the snack cakes?"
Starlight said with a dramatic flourish of her hooves, which contrasted sharply with the fit of giggling that followed. It made for a much better dinner than the mystery cans we'd been living off of for the previous couple of weeks. Emerald even heated the prepackaged dinners for us. The veggies were limp and the cheesy pasta was rubbery and greasy, but it was still one of the better meals I'd had since waking up in the wasteland. Even just the simple touch of warming the food, once such a normal and mundane thing, gave the meal a hint of luxury. We finished off both dinners and almost a whole box of snack cakes before heading up to our room. Dusty groaned softly from the side of the front room as we entered, wearily lifting his head to look our way.
"Oh, it's you,"
he murmured, laying his head down again and lifting a hoof to gesture vaguely off to the side.
"Sickle's using the bigger room. You two can have the small one."
We quietly made our way back, past the table and the assortment of chairs. The bedroom was still quite spacious, with a large bed, a pair of dressers, and a couple footlockers and a wash basin. A window overlooked the front of the town, its shutters standing open. Starlight was still enthusiastic about her pip-buck, going on so much about it that she didn't even spare a second thought as we slipped into the same bed. I noticed it, of course, but was far too amused to bring it up and embarrass her.
"And any locations the map has marked will show up as pointers,"
she said as she slid under the covers.
"I can just set a destination, and it'll show the way. It also spots ponies, even through walls, and knows if they're dangerous or not. Plus, it's got some fancy medical system that will flash warnings if something bad happens, and it gives even more details in the menus. It's pretty...
She stopped abruptly, frowning. Then her hoof slipped out from under the blanket, casting a faint green glow around the room as she flipped through menus. She halted, staring at the screen for a couple of seconds before speaking.
I have a broken leg? What? It says that I have a broken leg.
She repeated. She tapped a button reading the details it called up.
An incomplete fracture of the right large metacarpal.
She followed it up by touching a hoof to her right leg.
I mean, sure it's been sore, but it's not broken. I think that it means it's cracked, but not broken all the way through.
I shifted my position, sitting up to look at her.
I guess so,
She said, laying her hoof down again.
It sure doesn't feel that bad. I guess I'd better go easy on it until it heals.
I couldn't help but chuckle.
With how much you've been bouncing around, you might want another healing potion.
When she started to object, I added,
I'm sure Emerald has more we can buy, and it's a lot better to take care of it now instead of breaking it entirely.
She sighed.
Yeah, would kinda suck all the fun out of the day if I break my leg from celebrating.
She fished out a potion, downing it, then turned back to her pip-buck. She watched for several seconds, a smile slowly spreading across her face once more as the medical summary rapidly shortened.
That is so cool.
We settled into sleep. After a few moments, she scooted up close to me, slipping a foreleg over me to give a soft hug. She nuzzled in against my cheek, murmuring,
This has been the best day ever.
I smiled, lifting a hoof to gently stroke at her mane.
I'm glad.
She held the hug for a couple more seconds before releasing and rolling onto her back. She also took most of the blankets with her, but a quick tug fixed this situation.
I ate way too much,
She said with a faint groan, and I chuckled. We slept in late, well past sunrise. It was probably another half hour before the sound of hooves out in the main room finally convinced us to finally get up and join the rest of the world. Starlight led the way out, and then froze immediately on the other side. The hooves that we had heard were Dazzle's, who was standing in the middle of the room, her barding slung across the back to reveal the blue starburst of her cutie mark. When she saw us, she paused, flashing a playful smile and brushing back her tousled mane with a hoof.
Good morning.
Was all Starlight managed to say for a moment.
What are you doing here?
Dazzle chuckled softly, walking again.
I'd love to stay and chat, but I gotta go. I slept in too late. But, sorry, gotta gallop. But hey, you wanna talk? Feel free to swing by the gate. I can always spare some time for a pretty mare.
She gave a wink, and then the door was swinging shut behind her.
But I'm not...
Starlight trailed off with the other mare's disappearance, then sighed.
What the hell?
A couple heavy thumps from within Sickle's room caught our ears, and Starlight glanced that way.
Wait, was she with...
Dawning realization slowly broke across her features, followed immediately by a deep grimace.
Oh, ew!
Starlight then proceeded to rub her hooves against her head, as if trying to ward off the mental images that had just come to mind, all the while making continued sounds of disgust. The door opened again as Dusty returned, a small bundle clutched in his teeth. He spared a momentary raised eyebrow at Starlight's antics before speaking. Oh, I see you two finally decided to join us in the world of living. He wasn't wearing his barding, and I was suddenly struck by how unusual that seemed to me. Granted, he looked about as travel-worn as his barding had, but it occurred to me that this was the first time I'd seen him completely naked. So long as I overlooked the holster still strapped to his shoulder, I leaned my head up to the side, peering at his flank, with its image of a shield with what looked to be a rifle round emblazoned upon it.
Is this seriously the first time I've seen your cutie mark?
He glanced back, looking a little confused for a moment, and shrugged. I guess so.
Huh.
Anyway, I brought you all breakfast, Dusty said, setting the bundle on the table. A few boxes and packages of wartime food spilled out. Nothing too fancy, but, well, beats canned goods.
I think I already lost my appetite,
Starlight said, but that didn't stop her from grabbing a seat at the table and snagging a box of crackers. I got a package of shredded potatoes and another of snap peas that didn't quite live up to their name, but were still surprisingly delicious. I'm not sure how that kind of food could last for so long. I assumed there was some sort of preservative magic involved. We were about halfway through when the door to Sickle's room opened, and she slowly staggered out, bleary-eyed. While it was a little odd seeing Dusty without his barding, it was outright bizarre seeing Sickle without her armor, as if it were a sudden reminder that there really was a pony under all of that metal. Not that she looked any less imposing, with her heavily scarred and battle-worn features. It was just hard to find an inch of her body that didn't show some signs of past battles. As she stumbled towards the table, muttering something profane under her breath, I couldn't help but feel that there was something off about her. It wasn't until Starlight spoke that I realized what it was.
Holy shit!
Starlight said, her head drawing back in surprise as she eyed Sickle over.
Did you bathe?
Sickle halted at the table, blinking at Starlight for a couple of seconds, before mumbling.
The fuck are you talking about?
Starlight stopped herself, mouth closing on the word she was about to say, and then continuing on with the slightly more accurate phrase.
Not filthy.
There were several seconds spent as the statement slowly processed in Sickle's mind, until the huge mare finally blinked.
Oh yeah, that.
She sat on the floor with a deep thump that rattled the table, and rested her forelegs across it. Despite not using a chair, she loomed over her corner of the table.
That mare is weird. Kept trying to clean me, but I was high as fuck anyway. As long as she kept eating me out, I don't give a fuck what else she's into.
She groaned softly, eyes half closing. Her hoof came down onto the bundle of food, scattering the remaining boxes and packages as she searched through them, and finally grunted.
What? No drinks?
Dusty gave a dry chuckle. Sorry. Didn't get any booze. Do you run out?
Nah.
Sickle rumbled, resting her chin on the table as she slid over a package of sliced carrots.
But it's all in there,
she said, indicating her room with a flick of a hoof.
And I'm in here.
She stared at the package as if willing it to open itself.
Fuck me. Hangovers suck.
Alcohol dehydrates you,
Dusty said.
Drink some water, you'll feel better. Anyway, Emerald's ready to trade. I figured you'd all want to be in on that, get whatever supplies you need. We're good on basics, but there might be some specialty items that we want. Maybe more rifle ammo, if Whisper keeps shooting like she's been.
I gave a self-deprecating snicker.
Yeah, I have to work on that. You offered to teach me. Maybe we could do this afterwards?
This week's for relaxing and recovering, Dusty said. Training can be almost as stressful as a real thing, if it's done right.
I know some ponies that go shooting for fun,
I countered, and a thought occurred to me as I amended my statement.
Well, at least they did back before. I suppose that's not so common anymore.
Dusty eyed me, frowning as if I was trying to pull one over him.
There's a big difference between popping off a few rounds at the range and serious training. Still, I suppose it wouldn't hurt to have you run a few mags in a more relaxed setting. Get used to firing the weapon can't really hurt.
When we all had finished eating and Sickle had gotten a drink to chase away the hangover, more beer to our annoyance, we headed downstairs. Emerald looked up from a clipboard, dropping a pencil atop of it as she smiled at us.
Well, good morning, sleepyheads. I was starting to wonder if I'd see you fillies today. You must have really needed the sleep. That was the most comfortable bed I've slept in weeks,
Starlight said.
Yeah, I needed that. A good night's sleep can do wonders,
Emerald said. Sickle rumbled, plodding up behind us.
A good night's fucking is even better.
Emerald's smile wavered for a moment.
Yes, well, that can certainly be a pleasant way to spend the night, at times.
She recovered quickly, switching topics.
So, you're all looking to do some trading?
We dug through our wagon, showing what we had that we'd be willing to trade, while Emerald made notes on her clipboard. Once we were done, she scanned over the list.
Quite the impressive haul,
she said.
Why, it put most small caravans to shame. Quite a bit of high-end weaponry here too, and all in good condition. Some impressive heavy ordnance, 3 machine guns and a minigun, and a set of power armor. Where in the world did you come into all of this hardware? An untouched underground wartime facility,
I said.
We cleaned out the armory.
While the first part was true, the second certainly wasn't. The Hive's armory was intended to supply a variety of options for special operations, as well as to equip guards and militia in the case the hive was attacked. We took everything that we could carry and hardly put a dent into it.
Well, you certainly struck it rich.
Emerald said with an approving nod.
Plenty of ammo too, even 5 boxes of subsonics. Looks like you won't be needing the box I snagged for a good long time.
Maybe that whole generosity thing was wearing off.
Actually, I'll take it. I've only used a couple of them, but they saved all of our lives, and I doubt there will be many other buyers.
Emerald smiled.
I'm glad that they helped. What happened?
Dusty and Starlight both glanced my way. Starlight looked particularly uneasy.
We got attacked,
I said, and I did what I had learned to do through the years of training and experience. I just told enough of the truth to conceal the rest.
We got separated. Somehow I ended up behind the ponies that were shooting at the rest of us. They didn't know that I was there, so I was able to do enough damage for us to come out on top. It was a narrow thing, though.
She sighed.
It's a grim business. Sad to say, sometimes it comes down to that.
She was quiet for a moment before looking me in the eyes.
Bad ponies?
I nodded.
At best. They were working for bad ponies, but I'm pretty sure they knew what they were doing.
She slowly nodded.
Sad it had to go that way, but I'm glad that you came out on top. Sometimes, bad ponies just have to be stopped. Just so long as it's for good reasons. It was.
Her smile returned.
That's good to hear.
She then gave a soft chuckle, as if to chase off the darker mood. Fetching her pencil to scribble a note on her clipboard, she added,
I'll add the subsonics to the list.
We'll buy all the 5.56 you got too,
Dusty said. Emerald raised an eyebrow at that.
Really? You've got 3 cans and change already. What, you looking to outfit an army?
Nope,
Dusty said, then pointed a hoof at me.
but I'm planning on teaching this one to shoot and fight, and I'm going to do it right. So, at least 1 whole can is going down range before we're done.
Emerald gave a low whistle before picking up her pencil and scribbling a few more notes.
Well, you've certainly got the caps for it. A bit of preparation can make all the difference in the world. I am afraid my stock won't make much of a dent in that, though. I've only got a little over 2 boxes of the stuff. I tend not to stock too much ammo when Merford owns the market for kinetics.
Every bit helps,
Dusty said. Looking over her list, Emerald slowly shook her head.
That's a lot of firepower. Are you wanting to sell all of it?
Dusty looked my way.
Did you want to keep your pipe rifle?
I hesitated.
My neck's a lot happier with the assault rifle,
I said. With a new rifle, I'd been carrying more than twice the ammo for barely half the weight, which made quite the difference when I had been spending it as much as I did. Still, I couldn't deny some sentiment for the rifle that had saved my life in my first firefight.
Though, we might want to keep it, so we have something that fires that kind of ammo. It seems like raiders use that stuff a lot.
And they don't tend to have pipe guns of decent quality. Okay. Alright, we'll keep that and the heavy barrel one, probably sell most of the ammo, sell the shotguns and all their ammo. I think we'll keep one of the pistols as a spare, sell all the other handguns. Other than that...
He scanned over the piles of weapons, then looked back to Starlight.
Do you want any of the magical energy weapons?
There's not much point.
She replied, then raised her pip-clad hoof.
Especially now.
Well, if we get in a close-in fight again, there might,
Dusty said.
Your recharger is good for brief encounters, but it recharges pretty slowly once it's spent. It started lagging at the end of those ghoul fights. You know, that carbine there might be good for you if we end up in a longer close-quarters fight.
For a single moment, I thought Starlight might argue the point, but she simply shrugged.
Sure. Can keep it as a backup or something.
Alright,
Dusty said.
We'll keep that one, trade the others. I think we'll keep the 2 submachine guns to keep our options open. For the larger caliber rifles, we'll keep the bolt and the scoped semi-auto. We'll sell the others. I think I'll put the smaller belt fed as a maybe, but we're keeping the heavy. For the small calibers, we'll keep the long barrel and the light machine gun, and 2 of the regular rifles. We'll just sell the others.
He paused, looking over the sizable arsenal.
Alright. Okay, I think that covers it.
Emerald pointed with a pencil in her mouth.
The minigun?
Dusty hummed a moment.
I'm tempted to keep that for emergencies. It was useful until the ammo ran out. I don't suppose you carry any for it?
I'm afraid not.
Emerald said with a laugh.
Not many ponies toting miniguns around, after all. Heck, I've seen more ponies use those rounds as spare change than as ammunition.
Yeah, I'm not surprised, Dusty said. The thing basically just pisses Caps. Still, I think we'll hold on to it, just in case.
Suits me fine, hon. I doubt that I'd be able to give you a good price on it anyhow.
She gestured to the set of Enclave armor.
That goes double for the power armor. It would need a lot of repairs to sell as armor. The best I could do is part it out, and I'm sure some of the internals would sell for a pretty pile of caps. But it wouldn't be anything near what it would be worth if it were working right. If you want a good value, you'd need to get it fixed up. I don't know if there are any ponies this side of Dresdon that could do that. Maybe someone in Rust might be able to cobble something together?
I think we'll hang on to it then, Dusty said. We've probably got more than enough to trade already.
That you certainly do.
Emerald laughed softly as she looked over her list, then shook her head.
30 guns. I'm afraid I don't have nearly enough caps to give you a fair price on all of that, much less the ammo and anything else you want to offload. I got plenty to trade though, if you're looking for any supplies.
Always, Dusty said, smiling. Especially the medical supplies.
And I've been thinking of getting some barding,
Starlight said, flashing an awkward smile.
I would feel kinda weird, being the only pony without it. Plus, you know, getting shot really sucks. I do generally advise against it,
Emerald said.
Even with barding. Better than without, though, and I've certainly got plenty. What did you have in mind? Something light,
Starlight said.
I need to be able to run and jump and climb with it. Leather, I guess?
Emerald chuckled.
Leather barding is pretty heavy for the protection it gives, hon. Hot and stiff, too. It's just cheap. It's a step up from strapping on road signs and clipboards. You want lightweight and mobile? You want something metal, or better yet, cloth reinforced with metal.
She smiled.
Could even make you something custom-tailored, if you'd like. It might take a while for me to get that done, but it sounds like you're planning on sticking around for a bit.
Starlight grinned.
That sounds great. Perfect,
Emerald said, giving her a pat on the shoulder, then looked over to me.
So, does this mean that you're looking for barding too? Oh, I've got something arranged.
I said, giving just enough of a sly smile to sell the tale.
Oh,
Emerald said, matching my smile.
Sounds like there's an interesting story there. Don't suppose it's one that you can share? Sorry,
I said, though I held the smile.
But maybe later. Gotcha.
Emerald said with a conspiratorial wink, and turned back to the rest of the group.
Okay. What else can I interest you in?
I nearly jumped at Sickle's rumble, having nearly forgotten that she was there.
Got any chems or booze? Ah,
Emerald said with a good deal of less enthusiasm.
well, I've got some drinks, sure. I'm afraid I don't stock combat drugs, so the only chems I have are painkillers. Figures.
Sickle grumbled.
Whatever. I'll take it all.
Emerald raised an eyebrow, but nodded.
Sure thing. I've probably got a dozen bottles of various beers and one of— I didn't ask for a fucking inventory!
Sickle growled.
I said I'll take it all!
Starlight hissed.
Sickle.
But Emerald simply smiled.
Well, you certainly can afford it. I'll add it to the list.
She scribbled out a couple quick words, then looked up again.
Anything else?
In the end, Dusty bought the 3 packs of cigarettes that she had behind the counter, as well as most of the food and the few healing potions that she had in stock. That brought us up to 2 healing potions each, with 1 spare. While we had found medical supplies within the hive, they were irradiated enough through centuries of low-level exposure. None of us were particularly excited to find out what magical radiation might do to potent healing magic. Emerald had a short discussion with Starlight about barding, and eventually pulled out one of the sets for her to try on. It was a fairly light set that only covered the chest and abdomen, but it was made of some fancy black armor fabric that was highly resistant to bullets, and had internal pouches with metal plates to give extra protection to the chest. Emerald helped adjust it to fit Starlight's lean frame, and I have to admit it hugged her body quite nicely. The addition of a set of thick pads to protect her knees completed the look, and she turned and posed several ways, admiring herself in the mirror Emerald had provided. Even Emerald's repeated warnings that it was one of the more expensive sets of barding couldn't dissuade her. She bounced happily, enthused over how light it felt.
It's like it's not even there. I like it.
She spent the rest of the time prancing around in her new barding, while Dusty hashed over the final details of the trading. Even after the armor and all the other purchases, we walked away a few thousand caps richer. Starlight was in the mood to celebrate again, not to mention strut around in her new barding, so she and I went to Pumpkin's place to see if the food was as good as Emerald said it was. Pumpkin was a pleasant orange mare who greeted us warmly, as Emerald had. We settled in at one of the tables, and she was soon grilling up a variety of veggies for us in the back, while we sipped on glasses of lukewarm water. We were just relaxing when Dazzle pulled out a chair and sat with us.
Hey, Halflanks,
She said, grinning at Starlight.
I've gotta say, that looks damn good on you.
Pumpkin called out from the grill at the back of the store.
Hey, Dazzle, can I get you anything? No, I'm just here to chat with my friends.
She called back.
Okay then, just don't go chasing off my customers, okay? I wouldn't dream of it.
Starlight was rolling her eyes during their exchange, but was still smiling when Dazzle looked back to her.
Sorry, Dazzle. I'm in way too good of a mood to be bothered by your teasing. No, it's not teasing.
Dazzle said with a laugh, then leaned forward with a sultry look in her eyes.
It's flirting. Well, it isn't going to work.
Starlight said, her tone amused.
First off, I'm not into bears, so I and every stallion in town heard.
Dazzle said, smirking.
But I don't quite buy it. And second,
Starlight continued, her smile slipping.
you slept with Sickle. Seriously, ew.
Dazzle's smile fizzled, her ears twitching back.
Ouch. Yeah, it's not my finest moment, I suppose.
She gave a wry smile.
But, you know, beggars and choosers.
Starlight blinked at the sudden change in tone, her mouth opening, then closing again when she tried to decide what to say. Myself, I remained quiet and outwardly neutral, but all my attention was locked on Dazzle. Eventually, Starlight sighed and spoke.
Should I even ask what that means? Desperate times.
Dazzle said and gave a weak chuckle.
It just means that there ain't exactly a lot of available mares around, so sometimes I have to go with what I can get. A year of watching delicious flanks walking in and out of the gate without a taste was a bit too long, so... Well, yeah. Yeah. Okay. But still, the Sickle...
Dazzle laughed, though awkwardly.
Yeah, I know. Only thing is, she's available.
She smirked, eyeing Starlight again.
Because, trust me, other than being available, she ain't my type. Neither am I.
Dazzle's laugh was more sincere this time.
You kidding? A fine young mare like you, you're lean, strong, and athletic. I really like your mane. The style just shouts playful and energetic. Your coat's nice and clean and even, so you obviously know how to take care for yourself. Emerald likes you, which means you're a good pony, and I know you've seen action, so you know how to fight. You're pleasant to be around, and now you've got some of the sexiest, curve-hucking Barding I've seen.
She leaned in, her eyes hungry.
Sweetie, you couldn't be more my type if you were already sprawled out on my bed.
Starlight's face was bright red, her ears pinning back as she stared. Dazzle gave a playful smirk, resting her chin atop her hooves.
And you blush way too much at some flirting for some pony who went into mares.
Starlight swallowed.
Flattery isn't going to change my mind. Again, it isn't flattery, it's flirting.
Dazzle winked, then glanced my way. She then scooted a little closer to Starlight, leaning over to say,
Though I have to admit, your friend here has a lot going for her too.
Starlight blinked, her expression turning to one of curiosity.
Oh?
As for myself, I focused on retaining a natural, neutral reaction, rather than narrowing my eyes in disapproval. Perhaps I was reading too much into Dazzle's behavior, what with my training and manipulating ponies, but it all seemed so familiar to me.
Oh yeah.
Dazzle said, her eyes on me, as she leaned in a little closer to Starlight, as if sharing a moment with her.
I mean, I may be more into the athletic look myself, but look at her! Everything about her is sleek and graceful. Not a single imperfection, and each curve is more delicious than the last. Her coat is perfect, smooth and clean, not a hair out of place, and the perfect health to shine. And that tail and mane, I don't know how she grew them so full and long, but she obviously knows how to care for them. I mean, I'm envious. I wish I could grow my mane that long.
She chuckled.
Heck, I'd love to take her home and brush her mane for a few hours just to feel it. Maybe chat about mane care while we're at it, since she clearly knows a few things. You can save the flattery and the flirting,
I said, while Starlight was silently looking me over.
It's really not gonna work on me. That's a pity. I was serious though. You just came in from the desert, but you look immaculate.
She smiled.
I like ponies who can take care of their appearance. Actually, that's part of why I came over here. Mostly it was to flirt with a couple of the hottest mares I've ever laid my eyes on, but I thought I might be able to offer my services.
Starlight blinked, suddenly looking away from me, and back to Dazzle.
What?
Dazzle reached up, brushing a hoof along her sleek mane.
I've always taken pride in my appearance, and I've kinda made a side business out of it. I've got the closest thing to a salon you'll find this side of the war. There aren't enough pretty mares coming through to make it a full-time business, but it gets me some extra caps, and I love the work. Emerald's amazing at getting supplies, too. A convenient excuse to get your hooves all over some ponies, too.
I softly noted.
A purely innocent, but very happy coincidence.
Dazzle replied with a wink.
But, seriously, I can keep it entirely professional, if you prefer that. I just saw how weary you look coming into town, so I thought you might like to relax and unwind with some pampering.
She looked back to Starlight, who seemed to finally realize just how close Dazzle was sitting to her.
I offer everything. Deep, full-body cleaning, grooming, trimming, dyeing, treatments to care for your skin, coat, mane, and tail, hoofacure, horn care, full-body, deep tissue massage, everything. I even rigged up a setup that makes for a passable sauna, and if you haven't tried one before, you would not believe how wonderfully relaxing they can be.
When she was met with our skeptical looks, she laughed softly and raised her hooves in surrender.
Honest, ask Emerald, she'll tell you. Yeah,
Starlight said, her voice laced with skepticism.
I'll do that.
Dazzle lightly clapped her hooves against the table.
Good. So, I take it that means that you're interested?
Starlight chewed her lip.
Well, I mean, it sounds nice, but I don't know. I think I'll pass.
I said, eyeing Dazzle carefully.
Oh, please.
Dazzle said, blinking in my direction.
You'll love it, I promise.
I frowned a little.
Do you pursue all potential customers this aggressively?
She grinned.
Nope. But for a couple of the most beautiful mares in the wasteland, and ones Emerald speaks so well of, I think that's worth the effort.
She then sat back, placing a hoof across her chest.
I promise. You'll love every moment of it, you'll feel so much better afterwards, and there won't be any slips or wandering hooves intruding on the experience. Caps back, guarantee. I don't know,
Starlight repeated.
It sounds nice. I mean, if Emerald says it's okay, then excellent!
Dazzle replied, clapping her hoof against the table again.
Are you available today? If I go fire up the heater now, I should be able to have things ready by the time you're done eating and checking in with Emerald.
Starlight blinked.
Sure? I mean, I guess that works. Perfect!
Dazzle turned her smile to me.
And I don't suppose I could convince you to change your mind and maybe give it a shot?
I sighed. As bad of an idea as I knew this was, I wasn't going to leave Starlight to face it alone.
Alright. I'll go too. Oh, even better!
Dazzle grinned and stood.
I'll go get the things ready. My place is past the gate, second house on the left. Just let yourself in if I don't answer. I might not hear you knock if I'm in the back setting things up. I'll see you too soon.
And with that, she turned and strutted off, with far too much of a bounce in her step for a simple business arrangement. Starlight watched her leave, cheeks still faintly colored.
Did I just make a horrible mistake? I'm pretty sure she just wants to get her hooves all over you.
I said.
You can't say no. I guess.
Starlight said, though her tone sounded unconvinced.
Still, she made it sound really nice.
She looked up to me, then leaned in, dropping to a whisper.
There were a lot of salons around before the megaspells, right? Did you ever go to one?
My ears flicked back, realizing where this was going.
A couple of times, and yes, they can be nice, but it really depends on who's doing it.
I inclined my head the way Dazzle had gone.
And I think she's more interested in getting under your tail than in grooming it.
Starlight flushed at my targeted use of euphemism, chewing on her lip for a moment.
Yeah, probably. But, I mean, we've got a lot of caps now, and I'd like to do something fancy with it. Just once. And if Emerald says that she's okay...
After a moment, she chuckled, her smile returning.
Besides, there's 2 of us and 1 of her. Pretty sure that we can kick her flank if she tries anything.
I could have shut the whole thing down right then. Dazzle did a good job of pushing Starlight along, but she wasn't there anymore. Maybe I should have, but, well... Starlight was clearly excited about the idea to even consider putting up with Dazzle's nonsense. She could use something nice. Besides, I'd be right there, watching out for her. So, I put on a sly smile.
Just be sure to give her a good swift buck if she tries to sneak in a grope.
She giggled.
Can do.
I nodded, and with that, resigned myself to spend the evening at the salon. Oh well. So much for relaxing. You know, with Dazzle's lewdness, I'm kind of afraid of what's gonna happen. But then again, I have a feeling it's gonna be a twist and she's not gonna do anything. That would be kind of funny. Weird. Unexpected. Either way, I'd love to give a very special thank you to my dazzling donators. Yoshi Super Saiyan 2, Peter Coulthard, Dash of Evergreen, Dresdon, Dospo, RuneScythe9852, CourierCruz CI, Dwight Cornel, Gagi, Secret Moon, ORIAN KAIJU, Starlight Glimmer, David D. Sanchez, Trey, Pokekiller Zach, Soul Dragon, Dak Britton, Joe Pierce E, and Reno. Thank you all very much for watching this video, and I will see you all in the next one.